Well, welcome everyone. I'm Ana Campos. I'm here with my friend Emily O'Brien. We are the Boss Witches behind the Fiber Witch Festival. And since our little event has been getting a lot of attention that we didn't expect, folks are having questions about how it came to be and more just background information. So we figured that maybe we could share some of that journey.
Yeah. Do you want to start? Because it was kind of like a little like fetus of an idea in your brain for many years.
Sure. Yeah. So, honestly, what kind of sparked this is that at this year's festival, we had someone ask if the reason for this festival was because stitches had gone under, and that was so not even close to part of the thought process, and it just kind of made us realize that people don't really know why this exists and how it came to be. Um, and so one of the things that really, really shocked a lot of us is that people didn't realize that I have a shop that was linked to this event, which kind of blew my mind, right? So I'm sitting in my shop right now, Circle of Stitches in Salem. And for me, my journey to Salem has been a, lifelong thing, a whole lifelong journey. I'm originally from Brazil. I'm an immigrant. I moved here when I was 18. Um, and I moved to the US to become an architect. And now I own a yarn shop. So, things go the way that they go. But I've been studying, occultism, witchcraft, paganism for a very, very long time. And I was 14 years old back in Brazil when I said, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to go be a witch in Salem. And so it was a really long time ago when I kind of set my sights on that. And the book that I got, it was a Portuguese translation of Laurie Cabot's Power of the Witch. And there's a picture of her walking down Essex Street wearing her like big black witch's robes from the back. It's this like moody black and white photo. I'm like, that's going to be me one day. And so that intention was set a very, very long time ago. And so, when I turned 18, I graduated high school in Brazil. I moved to Connecticut to go to college. I went to Connecticut College in New London. And then I graduated and I moved to Boston to go to graduate school. When I was in Boston, I started coming up to Salem, to take some classes with Laurie Cabot and do all that. Um, and eventually in 2009, I moved to Salem. But I have a whole witchcraft journey that came before the shop. I am an initiated Dianic witch through my elders in Brazil. I am also a third degree Cabot witch. I did say, I guess, that one of the things that I was going to share in this is the picture of me at Sully Erna's Cabot initiation in 2007 into the Cabot tradition. So Sully Erna is the lead singer for Godsmack. And so I guess I can cut the video and drop that photo in right now.
Mhm.
So there's me hanging out with Laurie Cabot and Sally Erna. So I do have a whole like witchcraft history that I don't tend to talk about. I'm not very good at talking about credentials. And so I'm very passionate about Salem and the intersection of fiber arts with witchcraft and setting intentions and living, sort of mindfully. And I started having this idea of wanting a retreat or something that brought people together, in crafty community and supportive space. And what was that going to look like? And funny enough, I ended up running my first retreat the same year that I opened my store. They kind of happened at the same time. I soft opened my store. Yeah, in 20 I soft opened my store in 2015 and I hosted my first ever Lakeside Fiber retreat in May of 2015. So it was February and May, same year, like all kind of happening at once. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of confidence in the idea that, other knitters would be witchy and want to come hang out with me in Salem. And so it's kind of taken me a long time to just fully put out there, like, this is what I am, this is what I want to do. And so from 2015 to 2020, I ran Lakeside Fiber Retreat. It was up in New Hampshire, in East Madison, and a like little, like retreat center that also does boys camps by a lake. It was cute. And then 2020, right, everything shut down in March, right, of 2020. Our retreat was going to be in May. So we went fully virtual. And then things, obviously completely stopped. And then people started asking, oh no, is your retreat going to start again? When's that going to happen again? And that was around 2022, 2023. And I was like, okay, I do want to restart it, but I really want to do something that's more faithful to my vision and, what I really want to do. And what I really want to see is, are there other folks who are into witchcraft and knitting that might want to come hang out in Salem with me? Right. I'd had this idea this thing in the back of my head, this like phrase. It had been like, okay, which city, knit city, like, and I don't know why I was just kind of obsessed with that. And obviously that didn't make it into the name of anything, but that idea has been in there for like 10 years, right?
Mhm.
And there was a very long story that we're going to get into more, but then, and I ended up just saying, I'm going to go for it, see what happens, put down a deposit at Old Town Hall and said, hey, Emily, what do you think of this idea?
I think I actually did talk to you about it a little bit before the deposit was put down. Um,
Yeah.
as Kemper of Junk Yarn and I were at Circle of Stitches for our trunk show, the Totally 90s tour that we did on the East Coast. And um, a bunch of people came out. Fiber Kevin was still going on at that time, which is my podcast with Lauren of Valkyrie Fibers. And we like had a good event. And then we were like chilling, eating food. And you were like, do you think that like people would like a knitting witch event in
I
Salem?
remember, yeah, we were having like
I
clam
think,
chowder fries right by the
yeah.
water. Yeah, right from the, yeah, I can see that restaurant like right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, people would definitely like that. I would like that. Please hit me up if you do that. And then you were kind of like bouncing ideas off of myself and Ro of Home Row Fiber Co. via text. And we were,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds great. We would love to do some stuff. And then you were like, okay, I put the deposit down, it's happening. And we started having meetings digitally. So
Right? Yeah. But
yeah.
I think before we get more into that, I think it would be really fun for people to hear a little bit about how, we came to be in each other's lives. Because I don't think people, again, first people have no idea sort of, the paths that took us to finding each other, which are kind of, I think, really cool. So,
Yeah, I think so too. So since you gave a bunch of your background, my background is also a different creative outlet than what I ended up in. I did theater design, and I used to be a prop maker and puppet maker in the Chicago theater scene, but I quickly realized that I was going to get burnt out on that and that I couldn't really like pay to live if I continued to do that. So I transitioned and started working in marketing for small businesses and have been doing that pretty much since I finished college. For different small businesses, like art, Rotofuji is an art gallery and toy shop located in Chicago. I
hmm.
learned a ton about small business working with them. I consider them kind of like my small business mentors. And then worked for an art supply shop in New York, and then eventually worked for the Woolery for 5 years doing their um, email marketing, website, blog, all that stuff. And while I was doing that, I was designing knitting patterns,
Hmm.
and I designed some. I was getting into like witchy stuff, and like Lauren of Valkyrie Fibers and I were kind of getting into witchy stuff at the same time. And we were both kind of like witch curious, but like still like, well, I don't know. Like, um, we were like, I was like getting a couple crystals and be like, oh, this is interesting, like getting a book, being like, oh, this is interesting. And I did some knitting, like some witch knitting pattern theme things that were more just like flavor. And I believe I sent them to, I knew about Circle of Stitches because you were like the knitting witch.
Well, see, so that's the thing that I'm curious about. How did you even hear about me? Like, how is that even a thing? Like, how does these things happen?
I mean, I'm good at the internet and
It's true.
you have pretty good SEO. So
Oh, well, thanks.
yeah, I think I was probably like looking at Salem and being like, oh, Salem. Oh, yeah, it's probably from just Salem in general because I follow some like jewelry creators and stuff who are like visiting Salem and like posting pictures on Instagram. And I was like, that looks like a really cute place. I'd
Hmm.
like to go to there. And then like looking around, being like, oh, there's a yarn shop there. Oh, it's like a witch yarn shop. That's cool. So I looked at that and I know I emailed you some patterns and I think you like shared them in your newsletter or something. So that was probably our very first communication.
Yeah, which so it's just funny because I remember that. I remember sharing those patterns, but then I also remember later in the future realizing that that was you, and because I mean, I get a lot of random emails from people, and so
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I mean, when we started working together on the Fiber Witch Festival, I wasn't as actively designing patterns because I design pins and stickers and stuff now, and that kind of takes
right.
up all my time. So yeah, I don't think you realized that I like did patterns. And then I think in 2020, you had some online tarot classes.
Hmm.
I was like, we're trapped inside. I'm done being like just witch curious. I want to like do a class and like learn about tarot. And I ordered my first ever tarot deck from the Circle of Stitches website. It's right here. Look at it. It's lovely. It's the borders. They're
Yay.
great. And I ordered my first
Yeah.
ever tarot deck
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
I
got
just want to show this. We're not in the same space anymore, but the tarot decks live. Okay, how can I point in the they live on that shelf over there that I can't figure out how to point to because we're in reflect there,
yeah,
right
yeah, you
there.
got it. You got it. Um, But yeah, I ordered my first ever tarot deck. Surely I ordered some yarn too. I don't remember what that was at this point. Probably some sock yarn, maybe. Yeah, who could
I
say?
know it's funny. I can probably look it up and tell you what you
True. um, and I took your online tarot class, which was the Unlocking the Court Cards one. Is that the title?
Hmm.
It's about the court cards. And um yeah, I had done some ritual stuff at that point and I had some books, but that was my first ever tarot class. And I remember I like set up my desk with like the iPad like playing your thing and I had like my little like I had some like crystals set up around for like the quarters and I did my little like a tarot thing with you and your voice digitally. So you're like my witch mentor.
That's
Not even
amazing.
like literally. Yeah, so that was like my first real foray into tarot and witchcraft, and it's cool that it was through you. And
Oh,
then
I love that.
and tarot is one of my main practices, like still. So you did a good job.
Thanks.
And yeah, and we didn't talk to each other all during that class because I just kind of did the recorded classes. And I maybe even bought it after the live class was over and knowing I couldn't do the live class. So
Yeah.
we didn't see each other's faces at all then.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, I did a family trip with my mom, my sister, and my aunt to Boston. And they were like into like tea and they were just like tourisming and girls tripping around. And I
Hmm.
really wanted to go to Salem. And they were kind of like, Salem. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go by myself then. So I went by myself and
And I bet now you can be like, see, aren't you guys glad I went? Because,
I had so much fun the first day that they were and brought back stuff and they were like, we want to go. So then they later in the trip they did go with me a second time.
oh, okay.
So they got on board pretty quick. But I walked around the town by myself. I had breakfast in Gulu Gulu by myself and just kind of walked around. I did a cemetery tour, guided tour thing,
Yeah.
and just like visited shops and was like, oh, this is so cute and lovely and wonderful. Um, and I went to the Ropes Mansion and I really like it there. It was spring, the flowers were all out in the garden, and it was really beautiful. And I really liked Salem. And I did like a little creativity ritual in the garden there. And it was very much like, I want to come back here. Like, I want this place to be a part of my life. And I did a little sketch of the Ropes Mansion, and that is hanging
I
in
love that.
it's hanging in my studio. So this is from 2022. I do have timestamps on my phone that can prove this. Um, and yeah, this hangs in my studio. It's my little ropes mansion sketch that I did in the garden.
Yeah, I think we can cut in a photo of it, like here, because we can't see it too well. So
Yes, I'll take a picture.
there we go.
And then I walked around and I walked over to Circle of Stitches and Annie was there. And I was shopping Annie was photographing bags from just and she was photographing this bag.
There you go.
And I was
Amazing.
like, if you want to not have to take a picture of that one, I'll just buy it from you right now. And she was like, okay, great. You can have that. Which was funny because I did that for the Woolery at the time. So I was like, I know that you won't have to edit this photo if I buy this from you. um, so yes, I bought that bag and I had brought samples of Kitty with a Cupcake products
Hmm.
because I was visiting Salem and there were lots of witch shops. And I had a bunch of stitch markers and craft witch pins specifically because I was like, this is the knitting witch place. And I gifted Annie a set of stitch markers and gave her some samples to show you. I think I mentioned like I have emailed with Anna about patterns a couple times. I think she probably taught me how to pronounce your name because I didn't realize that it was Anna and not Anna at the time. I was like, that is good to know. Thank you. And then I left and she apparently showed you the stuff and you liked it and you started carrying my items.
Hmm.
Mhm. And
It's
then
true.
we cut to the uh
90s party.
90s party.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because, up to that point, obviously, I was buying your stuff, but I buy from a lot of makers and I do develop relationships with all of them, but not necessarily to this extent, right? So it was really when you and Kemper came to do the 90s tour. For people who don't know what it was, Emily and Kemper were sort of traveling to different yarn shops. I think it was all along the East Coast, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken, because Kemper was a yarn dyer for Junk Yarn. They've since retired from that, but they did a lot of very fun colorways. And this was when the Barbie movie was coming out. And so Kemper just like dyed a bunch of Barbie inspired colorways, and Emily designed a whole collection of charms and pins that were inspired by Barbie. She was called the Yarny. It was really cute. And so they
Mhm.
reached out and said, "Hey, we're doing these trips. Like, can we come and do a 90s party at your shop?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? That sounds really fun." And then, just as a back end thing, you were very easy to work with. You were very, very organized. And so that for me made me go like, this is someone who I'm interested in continuing to work with because like that was very easy. And that
Okay.
counts logistically. That does count for a lot. And like, yeah, now I remember us having that meal over at a sea level and me being like, hey, witches and knitting in Salem, maybe crazy. I don't know.
We were both like, no, that sounds sweet. You should definitely do that.
Yeah, and it was literally something that for me has been, more than 10 years in the making. Well, I guess 10 years because it happened at year 9, right? I opened my shop in 2015. I did the first retreat in 2015, and it was just sort of my steps of figuring out like what do I want this to look like, and um who do I want to work with? And so yeah, Fiber Witch Festival is completely a passion project, just like from the depths of, my heart and Emily's heart. There was definitely no strategy. There was no like, oh, Stitches is going out, we need to do a thing. There was like the maximum that I did that I will admit is kind of go through a calendar and be like, what are my major, fiber events in the area? Because I don't want to conflict with that. When is Salem sort of more accessible? Right. Our, on season now starts actually at the end of April. So it starts, it's a pretty long one. And so I was just trying to find like something that was like, okay, there's not anything major happening in Salem or in the fiber world. And maybe some people will show up, right? Like that was kind of our hope, is like, maybe 200 or 300 people will show up and we'll have a cute time and it'll be kind of cute and witchy. And that was how, Fiber Witch Festival was born.
Mhm. Yeah, and we started doing Zoom meetings. I think probably when you booked the venue around, I want to say like September or April or August-ish.
I
So,
booked it, I think it was July when I put down the deposit.
okay, so maybe we
And
started.
then, but then I started kind of thinking, and then you and I started talking more, and we didn't officially start meeting, I think, until the fall, until we kind of decided what
Mhm.
was going to happen.
Yep. And I definitely came on to do marketing mostly, and then ended up helping with kind of all of the
Right.
festival. But I have a lot of vending experience. I vended at a lot of shows. Um,
Right.
so I was like pulling like records of like all of my like vendor manuals from all of my various shows to be like, okay, these people have this, we need to have this. Like,
Right.
mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, so guys, that's the story of how Fiber Witch Festival was born. And stay tuned because in the second chapter, we're going to talk to you about planning the first ever one and some of the surprises we had along the way and just more about that experience.
Before
Yeah,
we go out, would you like to say who you are for the people at
that's
home?
and that's why you are better at marketing than me. I'm Ana Campos. I'm the owner of Circle of Stitches and Toil and Trouble Hand-Dyed Yarns, and I am the creator of Fiber Witch Festival.
I am Emily of Kitty with a Cupcake. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, all the places as Kitty with a Cupcake. I design cute, witchy, mostly themed and really gay enamel pins and stickers and stuff. And I am the co-creative director of the Fiber Witch Festival.
Yay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.